the fallout of that is you do damage to the culture at the end of the day for your own personal wealth. I'm sorry to say, but this is what's happening, because there are some people who are taken in by this showman, and then they go kill their kids in Mexico. Or they believe that Sandy Hook was not real, and then they go and then they harm those families online or maybe even in person. There's a fallout to this.
Welcome to Amigos PC. If you were looking for a podcast with high standards and an appreciation for the finer things in life, like water polo, ballet, equestrian riding, cricket, and trips to the countryside, you're in the wrong place. If you're looking for a podcast that celebrates drinking, random thoughts, wacky conspiracies, memes, crypto, cinema, and a lot of other things that don't really make any sense, then you're in the right place. This is Amigos PC, and here are your hosts, Scott and Mark.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. You're hearing this for a reason. You haven't subscribed to the Amigos membership on Supercash yet. For as little as $5, you can get access to our feed with no ads and exclusive membership discounts and merch.
Jump up to our $30 tier and get everything plus direct access to us via our Discord channel, live Amigo AMAs, quarterly giveaways, and crypto merch. For $1 a day or less, you can support an Amigo out.
Amigos, back at it again. Today we have a special guest, Jonesy, comedian, host of the podcast Weird as Fuck News, or Weird AF News. Also another podcast that we're going to talk about, which is Free Your Effing Mind. Jonesy, if you could just give us a little insight of yourself.
First I want to thank you for bringing me aboard. I hope your audience finds this entertaining, fascinating, maybe even learn something today. Hopefully get a few laughs. Maybe I'll make you angry. I can't promise anything. I might even offend. So just letting you guys know, you might want to get some Kleenex just in case you're one of those sensitive types. Just briefly about me, because it's not very fascinating to talk about yourself for a long time, so let's just give you a little cliff notes. I started out as a musician, then I was a comedian in Boston, which is where I'm from, moved to New York, did comedy, acting, been on some TV shows. Fortunately, I've been lucky enough to do Letterman, I've been on Gotham, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Drunk History. Came out to LA, still doing the acting and comedy thing, but with the explosion of podcasts, I've been, sort of experimenting with my own content creation, which brought about the kind of a popular podcast called Weird AF News, which I've been doing for over 4 years. There's over 1,000 episodes. It's a 5-day-a-week weird news podcast. And then, I've done some things on the side, just kind of for my own entertainment and edification, like the Free Your Effing Mind podcast. And still doing acting, still doing stand-up despite the situation we're in. I've been doing a lot of stand-up lately, which has been great. Live shows in front of real people, not through Zoom. And I've been very pleased with that, starting to make a little bit of money. And I kind of get the feeling that the entertainment's slowly coming back. So hopefully this last surge of cases doesn't make us turn it around, because I'd like to keep performing stand-up, even if people gotta die. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. No one should have to die.
You brought up
me.
You did bring up the Zoom thing, and we've had some comedians who on the show that have absolutely loved it and have found a way to make it work, and then others that despise it. Where do you land in the whole Zoom comedy show spectrum? I'm assuming.
I was gonna say, as you can guess, I couldn't stand it at all. It's like, oh, wow, I bombed, and you saw my shitty apartment. Awesome. That's like getting kicked in the nuts twice. First of all, there's no money in it. Very little. I wasn't getting anything out of it. I just wasn't. Even when it went well, I didn't feel like it went well. There's something lacking. When you're doing well at a live show, there's an energy that you feel from the audience. It's a feedback loop, and it's real. And it was kind of lacking that over Zoom, I found. So I'm very fortunate to be doing a lot of live shows lately here in Los Angeles. I will not go back to Zoom. I will not do that. I'd rather do no shows than do Zoom shows. I'll just do podcasts. Fuck it. I'm just going to talk to myself anyways. I might as well record it and put it out as a podcast.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you do Weird as Fuck News for what, like 5 days a week,
Yeah.
right? Essentially, like every
Monday
day?
through Friday. On Friday, I only do weird news from Florida.
Perfect. That must be so much
Oh my
news
God,
there.
it's crazy. There's enough weird news coming out of Florida. You could probably do it every day, but yeah, I'll do a weird news episode out of Florida. Florida Fridays, every Friday. Yeah, so tomorrow, which is a Friday, I don't know when you're releasing this, but tomorrow will be a Florida Friday episodes, and already my email is getting dinged with listeners sending me Florida stories because they love it. They love the Florida degenerate news. Who doesn't? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm looking at your
Yeah.
I'm looking at your last one. Florida teacher calls kid half-breed, woman pulled over, having a man inside.
Oh yeah, woman pulled. Yeah,
just the
woman
topic
pulled
of
up.
it.
She got a man in a cage in the back of her pickup truck. Unbelievable, hilarious. It was the funniest one of the week, man. I just loved that story, and it didn't explain why he was in the fucking cage. So you had to I'm trying to just piece it together myself. You know, it was so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Florida, man.
Yeah, my brother just moved there, so he's a
It's
part of the
great
fun.
because a lot of your episodes are like it's all current events,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
it's the weird stuff that is in the news.
Right.
Like one of your recent ones was Korea is now allowing different colors
Yeah,
of underwear for in school.
Yeah.
What
So,
is?
Isn't
I didn't know that.
that's what I love about it, right? 'Cause I didn't know that either, right? And so I'm sort of educating people too with this weird news. Like we didn't know that you couldn't wear anything but white underwear in those schools, and same with socks too. They were very strict on the color socks you could wear as well. So this is stuff that we don't know about. So I'm also introducing this bizarre cultural habit, at the same time, and then having fun making fun of it, and I try to make it funny. It's all improv usually, so I don't write them out. I don't write what I'm going to say ahead of time. I just read the article
Right.
and just kind of improv my way through it. I react as I go and as I discover it, and so I don't know where it's going to go. I try my best to make it funny. By try, I mean, I try to be as caffeinated as possible when I'm recording these things because I find that's when I do my best work. So I will OD on cold brew before I record every episode. It's like, go, I'm ready!
Do you feel like as a comedian, and let's say you're doing these podcasts, I know you didn't want to talk a lot about yourself, but this question just came out as you brought that up a little bit. You feel though as a comedian you have to forcibly be funny, or since people know you as the funny guy, you feel like you have to do that? You can't have not have a serious conversation, but just have a regular conversation with somebody at all, or
I guess when it depends.
do you feel obligated?
It depends on how I'm being introduced and if the person knows me already.
Okay.
If it's a new person and I'm introduced as a comedian, then I think they expect me to kind of be on. But if
Do they say, tell me a joke? Oh, okay, tell me a joke.
So
That's the
sometimes
worst
you do.
fucking
Yeah,
thing to
of course,
say.
sometimes you get that.
That is the worst
It's
thing.
just terrible. I hate it. And those people deserve to be made fun of, and I usually will.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
yeah. But the people who know me know that there's this other really deep side of me, and if you listen to the Free Your Effing Mind podcast, that's it kind of showcases this other side of me. I'm a very serious thinker, and someone who is fascinated by the mysteries of life, purpose of life, the meaning, what's going on behind it, what is all of this. There's a lot of me that's always thinking about that, and not just always thinking about funny, but a lot of me is thinking about these other deep, big questions, which, if you live long enough, you just start asking these questions to yourself. And so those who know me know that that's a place that I love to be in. Not all the time, but a lot of the time I like to be in that place talking about those things, not necessarily just joking around, yucking it up. I have strong opinions, and I've studied, and I've traveled, and I I don't know. I don't think I got a grip on what's going on. But you know what? I'll get on a soapbox and be a preacher for 30 minutes. I got no problem doing that. I've done it many times. Many times. You get me going, and I'm off to the races with this shit. So, and you hear it on that other podcast, clearly, and which is why that podcast doesn't have a lot of downloads. So let's be real. I know what's going on here. We don't need to hear any of that, dude. Just shut up about the aliens. Fucking got it.
Do you feel like with the whole COVID fun in the past year and a half or so, do you feel that opened your mind even more with things?
With the COVID what?
Or
with
do
the
you
COVID?
think you've always been kind of just like the craziness that's gone on? I mean, everyone's probably staying inside. They're just thinking more about everything that's going on.
No, I was already disappointed with life before that.
Gotcha.
It's like, all right, that was just a
icing on the cake.
Revalidation, really, is what that was. Like, it's just been hitting the fan forever, man. Like, have you seen the disappearance of drinking water has been real for 20 years? Like, let's be fucking real. Like, the warming of this planet, the fires. Like, this has been going on. Just the disintegration of every generation that's younger than me. Like, I've just been watching it. It's just disgusting. I've just been watching. This is a shit show, man. The great thing about it is, like George Carlin said, you get a front row seat when you're born to this shit show. And so, yeah, none of this surprises me, man. I'm a glass half empty person, too much. That's kind of like the comedian in me, I guess. I'm a critic, and I'm kind of like everything. I'm just got a lot of grievances, and I'm always pointing out the sort of cultural failures more often than not. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by any of this at all. You think I'm surprised that people aren't getting along during a pandemic and can't agree, like, that we should get vaxxed, or that we should wear a mask, or that maybe I should go get an extra gun, or like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, of course I'm not.
Yeah.
Surprised by any of this. It's ridiculous. People have been shooting each other for brand new Air Jordans for decades. Like, the Air Jordans, blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you this is just like, and now I'm like neck deep in it with the weird news, of course. It's like, yeah.
It's got to be like every other Florida event is somebody shooting somebody over Air Jordans, right?
There's so much of that crap, or whipping out their dicks in front of Chick-fil-A's and bus stops and stuff. That's like a thing. There's so many. You go to Florida, you're gonna see it.
Wait, that's not normal?
No, that's not normal. I'm just letting you know, it's not. Maybe
Mark does.
You're allowed
Sundays,
to do it
though,
at one time, and that's your bachelor party, and that's it. After that, you're not allowed. You're allowed to one time
and Sundays
to whip out your cock
Sundays.
at the bachelor party, and then you can't whip it out again. So says me.
Well, you also got the tainted ball too, right? So, you were mentioning, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. Free your effing mind with Jonesy, your podcast. Before we clicked record, I was telling you how I actually really enjoyed this, and I kind of wanted to go a little bit more in depth of your how to cut through the BS information episode that just recently came out on the 9th of April. So it triggered a lot. Like I was thoroughly thinking about it, just your viewpoint of it, because I feel like I'm one of those people that you were kind of describing as kind of sitting back. You had mentioned what was the word, the phrase that you used for someone to get the evidence? You pluribusum them, but it was something
rules
else.
Rules of evidence?
Yeah, the rules of evidence. Sure. I can't remember the...
Well, that's basically...
the phrase of that.
Telling shit from Shinola, which is very important. This is an old school term. Your listeners are probably like, shit from Shinola. So let me explain. Shinola is a shoe polish, and it's a black pasty substance. It was very popular in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But it looks like shit. So, the phrase, can you tell shit from Shinola, is it's sort of like a litmus test to being an idiot, so... But I think more than ever, we need to be able to tell shit from Shinola right now because of the information age. This is where we're at here, where there's too much information. There used to be not enough information, and now information is doubling, whatever, every 4 months or something. It's crazy. So you need this new skill. You got to have a bullshit detector better than ever, because there's so much information coming at you every day from all sorts of sources, and you got to be able to. It could be life or death for you. The information that you choose to take in and live by. We're seeing it right now. Do you want to be somebody who goes to Kid Rock concerts without a mask and unvaxxed? Is that what you want to do? Is that how you want to live? Because that's the information that you got, that was okay, and that you'll be fine if you do that. Or do you want to be someone who gives a shit? And I do say give a shit, because I'll say that, give a shit, because it's like, I'm not gonna get vaxxed, I'm not gonna wear a mask, or I'm gonna give a shit. So I suggest people give a shit and be an adult. But people get this information, so that and they can't tell shit from Shinola. They can't see that there's one little anecdote where an unvaxxed person did that, and then and they died, and then they use that and extrapolate it to the larger population, or they read more than one article about that instance, and then they think that, wow, there's a lot of stories coming that say this, when it's like, no, this is one isolated incident that you now blanketed over the rest of behaviors, and so this is unscientific. This is unscientific. This is like rules of evidence. No, this isn't rules of evidence. This is like there's much more evidence pointing at other things. So it's like these little tools that that people need to have, but we don't teach them these things. So it's not everybody's fault.
You said one thing though in the episode that has really stuck with me though. It seems like people now are like in an internet echo chamber.
Oh, so that, yeah, sure. So because of the algorithms of your social media, this is what happens to it. And this is why that person got that same article thrown in their face 3 or 4 times, because the algorithms will create an echo chamber. So the information that you keep clicking on and that you keep taking in, it gives a feedback to Facebook. Let's just use Facebook as an example. So Facebook's like, oh, you like that, so I'm going to give you more of that. So then you end up getting just information. Of course, this happens over time. It doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not talking about one day of like reading information, but your habits over time will be translated by Facebook into a certain pattern, and then so you're this kind of person. You like these. You like to read these stories about that. There's lizard people living underneath Los Angeles, so we're going to keep giving you lizard people stories. And there's a lot of lizard people stories out there. There's a lot of lizard people stories out there. Mm-hmm. The guy that just killed his kids in Mexico because he thought there was lizard serpent DNA in them. Did you see that story? So there's stories out there with serpents and lizards. So you'll keep getting those in your feed, what's called a feedback loop, which you mentioned. Yeah, of course. And so you become a person who doesn't even see that there's a world that there's no serpent DNA and lizard DNA. So you become one of these people because this is the information that you just keep getting thrown back at you. And then so then you go to a party, right? And now you might go to a party now, and then there's going to be some people there who don't believe in serpent DNA. And then now but you're not going to listen to them because they're not coming through your Facebook feed, which is all you're into. You're not into, Larry at the barbecue who's telling you that, serpent DNA really doesn't exist, bro. And you probably shouldn't kill your kids over it either. I'm just going to put that out there. Crazy idea. But, yeah.
Question, though, as on the weirdest fuck news. So when you're searching these stories, I'm wondering, how does that affect your algorithm? Oh. Curiously. Do you think that maybe
why I'm so weird
messes with yours a bit? With so you know what I mean? Like if you're searching those, like you know what I mean? If you click on those, maybe you're getting nothing but weird stories.
The one thing that I make sure that I don't do is I don't look for these stories via social media. So I'm never in social media. I'm on these third-party sites that I go to. Most of the time it's Reddit, and I'm just searching through titles. I'm like trying to find the weird shit and then saving them to a bin, and then I'll go back to them afterward. Perfect. Yeah. But I mean,
just making sure you're not just getting nothing but weird shit.
I'm not the kind of guy that's like, I'm not gonna be affected by that anyways. I'm not gonna. That's not me. I'm a very open-minded person, and if I'm presented with new information, I will change my view. I I do that all the time on the show. It happens all the time because I'll say my opinion on something and then someone will give me some feedback. They'll write to me. They'll be like, hey, man, what you said about, I don't know, non-binary people is not acceptable and it's not true. And let me tell you something. I'm a non-binary person. And sometimes I'm convinced. I'm like, okay, all right, thank you for writing me. I always thank them for writing me anyways. But, sometimes I'm turned around. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly taking in new information. This is the other thing that you got to do, right? With all the information, you gotta. The other skill is like be malleable on your point of view, like because there's gonna be some shit that comes out of the woodwork. Sometimes it's science. Wow, crazy, right? Crazy. Well, sometimes it's science. So don't be one of those people like, hey, my mind is made up. Don't confuse me with facts. Don't be one of those fucktards. Be open to. So that's like a thing that we need to develop as well. And in doing so, you sometimes have to put away your ego and your pride. I know it's hard. Fuck, man, but isn't living a life that's close enough to truth worth putting your ego aside? Dumbasses, like really think about these things. But some people can't do it. Some people can't do it. It's my way or the highway, and they don't.
Some people they're like stuck in their ways, right? Yeah. So it's hard.
People like it's like I go home to Boston and my stepfather's like, we're talking about something. I go, hey, why don't you Google it? He goes, nah, I don't Google anymore. I don't Google nothing. I'm not giving him my money. First of all, like, where did you get this idea that because you Google, you gave them your money? I mean, I've been Googling forever. I never gave them my money. I don't know what Google engine you're using, dude. But like, there's people like this everywhere. It's just so like. But a lot of them are old and they're gonna die off, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing when all the old idiots die off. It's great. The people there's still people out there that think that because they saw it on the internet that it's true. There's people like that. These are people that come from a generation where as seen on TV is like gives everything credibility. They're living in that world. As it was on TV, that means it's a cool product. Sometimes you'll still see these products like in Walmart. It'll be like the fucking George Foreman grill, whatever, and they'll put that little stamp on the side, as seen on TV. That comes from a generation of people that thought whatever was on TV was truth. It was the best. We are so far from that now. We're so far from that. Just because shit is on. I mean, you can make a documentary on your fucking phone right now. You could make a documentary about serpent DNA using just your phone right now. Just because that's on YouTube now, people are going to believe it? That whole generation still believes, well, I saw it on YouTube. It must be true. Fuck off. You're like out of your mind.
We've done a two-part series of that.
Have you?
Me and Mark. No, but that'd be crazy if we did.
The serpent DNA. Fucking crazy. It's like Alex Jones shit. Wow. Okay. But
that was another thing too that you talked about, like people who get Alex Jones, and I've recently been talking to Scott about how I have a new light when it comes to Alex Jones. I recently saw Alex Jones on the Andrew Schultz podcast not that long ago. He does it on YouTube too, and I came to a realization, like Alex Jones isn't who he portrays on his show, or who he used to portray on his show. Like Alex Jones is still a lunatic, but he's also a showman. Yeah. And I think that showman was the guy that was on the TV network all the time. Like he's was doing that as a living, and he knew.
Yeah, I saw him on the Michael Malice podcast too fairly recently, and he was much more tame, I noticed as well. Except for he did go on about the serpent people. He just seems to be stuck on this. I don't know what that's all about. He's like very QAnon. He's still got the serpent lizard vibes going on. But yeah, for the most part he was fairly normal, and it changed my opinion of him. But I agree. Yeah, certainly he was pushing the boundary of showmanship, where it was like beyond reason. Well, he would say almost anything outrageous, it seemed like.
Well, he made a cult following out of it, right? He made, like, it's like people who follow like your mom's house, like they are crazy. So they're hardcore fans.
This is an environment where like it's clickbait. Is it clickbait? This is an environment. What is it? No, it rewards outrageous opinions. It rewards hot takes that are ridiculous. We see the same thing in sports. You say something else. Skip Bayless say something outrageous, so that look at all the views, look at all the clicks. It's created an environment where you're rewarded for being nutty. So for him to just go crazy on a show like that, to create, if his goal is to create a following, it's pretty smart because it's going to work, right? The fallout of that is you do damage to the culture at the end of the day for your own personal wealth. I'm sorry to say, but this is what's happening, because there are some people who are taken in by this showman, and then they go kill their kids in Mexico. Or they believe that Sandy Hook was not real, and then they go and then they harm those families online or maybe even in person. There's a fallout to this. When you have squirrely ideas, it's like when someone had smallpox, right? You would quarantine them. You put them in a place. In New York City, there was a little island that they put you on. Smallpox. The building is still there. It's Roosevelt Island. It's a really, really cool place to go explore because the building looks like an ancient castle. It's kind of crumbling, but it's really cool. That was the smallpox hospital. You'd find a smallpox hospital in major cities all over the world at one point when smallpox was the thing. Well, this one was an island. You went to the island because you weren't allowed to infect the rest of the population. Well, if you got an idea that's fucking up the culture and the population, why should you be allowed to walk around with that? Why shouldn't you be quarantined? We could debate these things. We live in a culture where there's freedom of speech and all of that. So we want to allow those people to kind of run rampantly through the culture with their terrible ideas that may do damage even if it does damage to 10 families. That's enough. That's too many to me. The guy that gets a billboard that says the earth is ending on this date, and then people go sell their belongings because they follow this person. This guy was a real guy as well. And people pulled their kids out of college because they believed that the earth was ending on a certain day. This guy had a huge radio syndication show. This guy was he's dead now. I forget his name, but he was always the earth is ending guy. He had billboards. And there are people being interviewed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Interviewed on the news as they sell their house. Like, fuck you out of your mind. So this guy's allowed to go around, and do his showmanship. This guy's allowed to do this to get a following so that he can accumulate personal wealth. This is okay. And we could debate these things. I'm not saying we should go to a communist country and like have a fascist government where you can't say what you want to say. But hey, we need to recognize
common sense.
We need to recognize that
common sense
ideas are just as dangerous as bacteria, germs, diseases.
Well, it's almost like we were already getting the information too fast at one point with Mr. Radio Guy telling the world was going to end, and it's just excelled that much further, sure. Right? Like it's so now we don't have anything that basically kind of snoops and things. You got to go look for it basically to figure out, okay, well, what is real and what isn't, what's the truth, what's not the truth. We don't have anything that kind of just filters for us, and sure. So people are lazy and they're just going to accept whatever they see on social media or TV. Yeah, right?
I would say we would need a new tool. So we have Snopes, right? There's a few other websites that are like that, but they're not really in your face, and you have to go, like you said, you have to go find these things. It could be a new technology. It should obviously start with education. It should start with generations of children within a curriculum being taught new skills, rules of evidence, skills like examine the messenger, skills like how do you tell shit from Shinola, all this shit. Teach them about, truth in advertising. Like, all this stuff is very helpful to arm them with the skills and the tools and the weapons that they need to cut through bullshit so that they don't find themselves, this is an exaggeration, but they don't find themselves handing over their money to a Nigerian prince because of an email or some bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, there's layers of it. Or something like voting for the wrong person. I mean, it could go all of these things. It can affect your life in so many ways. How you take in information and what you do with it, how you filter it out, how you understand it, and then apply it to your life. So it would start with education, but I also imagine a technology could help as well. Now, you see something else going on. This is fascinating. And I don't know if I agree with this either, but you see some of the platforms cutting people off, right? So Twitter will kick you off, now Facebook.
Yeah.
This is one way it's being handled. I don't know if I like that way. I don't know how I feel about that way. In some cases, I agree. Like the Alex Jones being kicked off these places at that time, I agreed with it. Trump being kicked off Twitter at the time, I agreed with it. Following the Capitol riots and that and whatnot, but I don't think this is the answer either, because then it becomes really arbitrary. Who gets kicked off? Who doesn't? I am for like removing people, sure, from certain platforms. I am for that, but it's like I don't know how you come up with a fair process for that. It seems pretty random.
It would almost have to. Yeah, it would almost have to be like some type of judicial system in place to pick.
Sure.
Great.
Because,
now we have another court system.
Otherwise you're just giving one dictator, Twitter, the guy at Twitter that has the ban button to go ahead and select who's going to ban or not.
It's
is Trump at fault for what he did, or no one knows. I don't like politics.
And some of the most dangerous, insidious idea mongers are very small. They have a very small audience, and so Twitter's never going to pick that up. Anyways, they're going after the big guys, but like those people that cut off their balls and killed themselves during the Hale Bopp comet arrival thing. I don't know if you've heard this story, but this, there was a little cult out here in California.
Is that what the Nikes?
They all believed, the Nikes as well. They all believed that the arrival of the Hale Bopp comet was the moment where the Earth would be destroyed and they would be taken to heaven via the comet or whatever the fuck it was. They castrated themselves. They injected a poison and then all laid down in bunk beds in this house in California. And it was like, I don't know, 40 of them just fucking, they were following this cult leader and they killed themselves. And we all heard of Jim Jones. Some of these things are like small audiences that do the most damage. So removing them like that, they may not have had a blip on Twitter or Facebook. There's, in other words, I don't think this is solving the problem either. It's, I don't know what we need, but the best thing to do is, of course, arm people with like if you were one of those people that agreed. I don't know how you get to that point where you're like, okay, cut my balls off too. Is this the line to cut off your balls? How long's the wait here? I'm ready. You got the poison in the needle? I got my Nikes on. Like,
yeah, you got a couple steps you could have backed out there.
Like, how do you get there? There's something at fault with society when citizens are becoming adults and they make those decisions. It's a failure of an educational system. It's a failure of cultural support. It's a failure of mental institution support. It's a failure of family support. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of failures going on for you to have even 10 people that would do something like that in your culture. To me, huge failure. Huge fucking failure. How does it get there? Kicking people off Twitter ain't gonna solve that. So I don't know what you do, but education first and foremost. And my episode was a lot of it was about that. What you can do to get yourself some skills, and what we should do to educate, the younger generations.
Well, sometimes maybe you just need to remove yourself from the equation to not get all of this silent noise. Like for example, for me, I removed myself from Facebook. I mean, my profile is still there. I didn't delete my Facebook. I didn't do anything, or make an announcement that I'm quitting Facebook or anything like that. I just said fuck it and deleted the app. It didn't say anything.
That's why you don't respond
to the wife, because she was tagging me and stuff, and she's like, "Why are you not letting it go on your thing?" And I'm like, "I don't have Facebook anymore. Like, I'm not trying to do this anymore."
I mean, that's that's another approach is to take a break from these things or remove yourself from these things, but it's hard too, because that's not the best answer. Ideally, you want to still be able to be on these things and be involved, and not hand over your money to some ridiculous pastor that thinks you can eat cow shit to fight COVID. You don't want to do that. I was a guy in India, so they're all about the cow shit over in India.
They're sacred, right?
Sacred cow shit that'll fight COVID. That's what they believed. Guy got caught smuggling a bunch of cow shit on a plane or something. He's like, I don't know, like 100 pounds of cow shit. I don't even bring that on a plane.
Wow, how do you even bring that?
Who's gonna not smell that?
That's a lot.
Just
how many bags do you have to check?
Silly behaviors. But yeah, the ideal is you want to be able to stay involved because you know, like I can't ever get off social media just from a business standpoint. I can't.
No, I mean it's part of your business.
Yeah,
you can't get on. I mean we can't either.
Yeah,
but,
sure, you can't.
I can make
personally, I guess you can.
Yeah, I mean that would be ideal if you could, right? But for most of us, it is impossible. It is impossible. We have to. So there's like these ages, like information age, which we're in the middle of, right? But we have to transition to what the new age is like how to cut through filtering the information age. So that's the next step.
Yeah.
For the information age to be successful, we have to have a filter the information stage where we develop a lot of attention, time, technology to filtering through the information.
Now, do you think that there's going to be a lot of pushback for that? Because one, the federal government alone likes misinformation because it keeps everybody segregated, right? But on another, other people will play on that a little bit further, and they're like, you're hindering my freedom of speech, and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So do you think that there's going to be a lot of pushback then when we get into that next stage?
Well, there's only problem with the freedom of speech is if part of your plan in filtering the information is denying people the right to spread information or create information. So I don't think we need to do that. I think it's mostly the filtering going on here, which no one can deny is a smart thing to do, except for people behind the scenes that have agendas, like you said, like maybe the government or, certainly corporations, want to keep us all mindlessly buying stupid shit, and so it's in their best interest for us to kind of like just take the information and the messages without a filter, so that we could just be like, oh yeah, right, I do smell like shit, I need that, I need it, where do you get that? Like this is what.
Do you feel like we're getting closer and closer to Idiocracy being like real life?
Wow, so isn't that movie incredible? How like it was just like
how we're getting there. We're going to start using Mountain Dew to water plants.
Sure.
I feel like Gatoring an entire field is happening at some point.
It's Gatorade, not Mountain Dew. Yeah.
I have faith that we'll come up with tools to help us
to be smart again.
Yeah, I have faith that we'll come up with some.
I hope Alexa hurries.
Sure.
I hope Alexa.
She'll help us.
I mean, we got to, otherwise, I mean, it's too much of a mess.
I know.
I like your hesitation as you were saying that, though. I think we're gonna get a solution.
Yeah. I mean
there's
going to be some countries that adopt this and get this together before others. So, like, as a globe, this is always going to be messy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This country's still living in the dark ages. Like Afghanistan right now has just stepped back into the dark ages after what's happened this week.
Yeah.
So these places are never going to get it together. And the people in those places are never going to ever get the tools to cut through. They're going to have to take in whatever information is given to them. Right now, they're like removing music. And like, you just imagine where it's going to go after this. Same thing in China. Same thing in North Korea. North Korea is super, like, experts with this stuff, controlling the information. So you can't even begin to try to tell shit from Shinola in North Korea because you got nowhere to go. You got no other sources. You're in such an echo chamber that you're fucked. You're fucked. But our country could be the example of this and the model for this, and probably will be, where we will come up with something, and it'll probably be a technology that will assist us in cutting through information. Something as simple as, I don't know, you watch a video from a video creator, and then you're able to immediately, without having to dig too far, get to their other work. Like, immediately get to their other work, but also get like a compendium really quickly of their other work, so that you can be like, oh, this video is completely different than the other shit. Like, all his videos are like outrageous like this, so this doesn't make any sense. So I shouldn't have to believe this. He's doing videos on Loch Ness Monster. I'm not going to take vitamin advice from this guy, So like, that just being able to examine the messenger really quickly with the technology, that's like, I'm just giving this as one example. Like, because examining the messengers, we don't think that it could be so helpful. Like, oh, examine them. It's Very helpful to examine the fucking messenger. And so maybe this is a technology just in this one instance where you're able to get the whole picture of the messenger who's delivering you this article.
Wouldn't that be, just to play devil's advocate on that? Because to me that almost sounds like, that'd be the IMDb of everyone in the world, right? Essentially. So
perhaps maybe it's just people in media. Maybe it's just like there are YouTube channels that are all about the flat Earth, right? This is all they do is flat Earth. They you know what I mean? So now let's say one of their videos or something else they were doing that's within the realm, it trickles into it just gets to me somehow. Now I've never seen that guy's shit, but it gets to me. But then, they always pick, they don't always pick flat Earth idiot as their user. They'll put
genius. He's a flat Earth genius.
They'll put they might choose a name that seems legit,
Doctor.
Yeah,
Dr. Tom Johnson.
Deep orbits or some shit, spherical realm, maybe it's called something like that. Ooh. So you don't even know by the title what the fuck you're dealing with here. You don't know who this person is. You don't know
spherical challenge.
And to you it might even look like a real media company, but it's a flat Earth dude. You know what I'm saying? So
in a lab coat. In a lab coat.
And so maybe there's a way you can be like, oh, this is the rest of the stuff this is his output, and it's right there, and I'm able to see it right away. This is his output. This is the address of his company, his Flat Earth company. It's some fucking P.O. box in Sioux Falls, wherever. And you're like, oh, this isn't even a legit media company. You know what I mean? Because you could be duped by thinking because the guy's got a YouTube channel, this is legit. Well, no, here's the number of views. Here's the P.O. box that he operates out of. This is this other shit. He talks about flat Earth. He talks about Sandy Hook is a fake, and you're like, oh, got it. So I've been able to examine the messenger in 2 seconds. This is one idea that I would come up with. I don't even know how you make that happen, but leave that for the genius kids that are making apps.
What if the messenger has one thing that you think he's saying is right? So let's say all those things, flat Earth, you're like, yep, I got it. But everything else is nope, I don't know, school buses are fake. I don't know, crazy shit. But what would you do then?
I don't know. I think you got to play a numbers game at this point, right? It's if I can't hit a knuckleball pitcher, I'm not going to face a knuckleball pitcher. I'm just going to be I ain't facing a knuckleball pitcher. I just can't hit knuckleballs. Fuck it. I'm just going to... You know what?
I like it.
Coach, you have a pinch hitter for me. I'll sit on the bench today. I can't hit the knuckleball pitcher. Yeah, sometimes you just got to make decisions like that.
Play the
yeah.
I like that.
Look, I don't have the answers to this shit. I'm just trying to come up with an idea.
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes. I'm getting
how do we help people not be duped? You know what I mean? Because I got family members that are duped. I'm like, you people. I got a cousin who's been gave money to a couple people he shouldn't have been giving him money to. Some fucking One of them is a pyramid scheme. The other one is a new age dude. This guy's, I'm like, you're always looking for someone just to hand over your money to, you fucking dumbass. What is wrong with you? This guy needs help, man.
But I can time travel now. Does he say that now?
This guy needs help.
No.
He's like, no, I just want to be around a shaman. I'm like, dude, and
that's what he was getting 100 pounds.
He's not a dummy, man. He's not a dummy. This guy's a doctor. A doctor.
Oh.
All right? So he's not completely dumb. He's a fucking doctor. And yet he...
Well, I mean, that just shows you that education doesn't mean you're smart.
Yeah, smart, street smart.
Well,
I think you got to be right down
the
the
middle.
middle.
The other thing is, we're always so...
To make it.
Some people just really want to hand over, authority, or they're always looking for some authority figure to direct them. They're just they can't stand on their own 2 feet in life. So they just hand over the loyalty. They're looking for the next guru. They're like, they're seekers, right? And so they end up slipping into these situations, and then now you're in another country drinking poison Kool-Aid among 200 other people, and you're dead. Or you're you end up being with Rajneesh, this dude out in the middle of nowhere, handing him all your money, and then you're being raided by the FBI because he's fucking tax evasions and fucking women or whatever he's doing. All these gurus, by the way.
Is that the shaman guy?
These gurus, by the way, are just
Yeah.
unbelievable assholes at the end of the day anyways. Nobody you want to follow or give your money to. You're a fucking crazy person to just even be a guru. You're crazy. If you're like, yes, I have the answers and I should be followed, you're gone already. You're gone. If you think you have all the answers and that you should be followed, everyone should listen to you. Here I am speaking as a comedian. I get up on stage all the time and tell people how the world's fucked up and that you should listen to me.
But that's right, though, because you're seeing it from outside and you can see how fucked up it is.
But man,
you're telling how it is.
As soon as I got people following me around, I'm like, no, you know, crazy. You're out of your mind to even think that you should be in that position. But people want it. People want that in their life. They'll seek it out, man. They're always seeking gurus. And then you wonder, crazy shit happens, man. It's like, you ever hear that story that happened up in Box Canyon? This guy in this is out here in Cali. You guys are in Arizona, right? Is that where you're at? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Tennessee.
I am.
Yeah, well, this fella up in Box Canyon, this is pre-Manson. He had a cult up there. He told everybody he was Jesus. Long-haired dude, crazy thing. He builds a whole village. It was the same place that the Manson family moved into after this cult disappeared. But the reason why the cult disappeared is this guy, of course, so he builds a little village, and then the families move in. They show it in that movie, that Hollywood movie that Quentin Tarantino did, like with the horses. Did you see that movie? They were in that up there, the horses and stuff, all those little houses, those huts. That's this place in Box Canyon. That was built by the previous cult. And this guy was all about, I'm Jesus, follow me, blah, blah, blah. He moves all these families in. He starts fucking all the wives. Big problem. He's fucking all the wives. The husbands get together and go, we got to stop this. They make a couple attempts. They can't get this guy to stop fucking their wives. So, two of them get together. They strap dynamite to their chests. In the middle of the night, they knock on the door and be like, we need to talk to you. It's an emergency. We need a meeting. We need an emergency meeting. They come in, and they blow themselves up in his hut. They blow up him. They kill like 3 of his assistants. And they kill themselves, of course.
Wow, that's one way.
This is a problem that you when you follow these people, they're usually very questionable people morally. Sure, and then they always want to pick your pocket. Always, that just comes with the territory. They always want to pick your pocket, bro. Yeah. That's the first step. And they'll tell you that to your face. That ain't even a secret. It's fucking your wife. That's the secret. You find that out later. But everybody's, this is just my thing. But ideally, we live in a culture where people don't get caught up in shit like that. Like this, you shouldn't be caught up. You shouldn't be giving Joel Osteen your fucking money, for crying out loud. How many people are following him on Twitter? How many people are giving this idiot their money all the time? I mean, this is gross. It's a gross cultural behavior. It's a sign of immaturity. We need to adult, man, and grow the fuck up. And, part of that is like realizing I don't need this. I don't need somebody to tell me these things.
So with this podcast, your pet project here, as you're building your soapbox, like where does the ideas for each episode come from? Because obviously you're showing a ton of passion with all of this subject and what we just talked about, just on one episode.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I've listened to a few of them already, and you deep dive on some of this stuff. Like, what happens typically when you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about this time?
Yeah, which Shama do you go meet first, and then do the episode?
So which pyramid scheme?
Yeah, do you course do you
first
take?
I take 5 dried grams of mushrooms, and then I walk into the
desert.
A lot of times
you meet Yoda.
A lot of times it's just like patterns that I recognize that are like stupid patterns in the culture that I've tried, that I think that I might be able to snap people out of. It's really overly ambitious. Like I'm going to just snap people out of these things, but like I think that I guess I try. So the idea that everyone should go to college is like that was the basis of an entire episode. The episode was called "Do Not Go to College." That was the episode. Just fucking do not go to college, right? That's an exaggeration because some people should, depending, But in general, I advise against it. So, and I see the fallout of that, and it makes me angry. It's like all my peers owe $70,000 in debt, and they don't. They're not even working in the field they have a degree in. They can't even pay back the fucking loan. It's a huge problem. So I thought, well, why not put out the message to not do this? and let me give you reasons why. And so then I would do some research, and then I would give my own opinion why and relate it to my own life. We should not go to Mars. Mars is stupid. That was a whole episode about Mars is stupid. This is a stupid thing to do. We shouldn't be wasting our money and attention. We have amazing technology and science, and we're wasting it on a planet that will never be inhabitable. It's just never going to be inhabitable. We do not have the resources to terraform this place. If we do, it would make us bankrupt here on Earth. Meanwhile, Earth is on fire and the water's disappearing. It's like, we haven't even cleaned up our own backyard. We're going to go in the neighbor's yard? Like, fuck off. So this is like, it's like shit like this. It just makes me... It makes me angry, this pattern that I see where everyone's all about Mars and we're spending all these resources. Well, if you take the moment to just learn about the actual environment of Mars, you'll see very clearly that it's not doable. Among other things, the levels of radiation, the dirt is poisonous. Women start to no longer ovulate when they're up there for a certain amount of time. Like, that's going to happen. Like, this shit is crazy when you start to learn, like, real scientists that say what's going to happen if we live there. Those aren't the ones, though, that are pushing the let's go to Mars button. It's all like, it's PR people. It's people like Elon Musk who have the money to put out this message and have the money to like tinker around with this idea. And that slips into the mainstream. And now everyone thinks, oh, it's a good idea. Yeah, I want to go to Mars. Somebody put out a thing where do you want to go to Mars? And all these volunteers, right? I saw that. I was like, that's insane that all of these humans would put themselves on a list to go to Mars. Like, you might as well just walk into a volcano, man. Like, really. It's like ridiculous. So, just seeing behaviors and like cultural norms that I think are just problematic. I'll get an idea like that. So I have a list of things that a lot of stuff is just shit that makes me completely angry. But I got a list of things that I'll eventually get to and put out on other episodes. Stuff that I see, especially if it's something that people can't really, like, it's an invisible force and they can't really see it. Because like social constructions and social forces are so strong that you sometimes can't see it. Like, I went to college because of social pressures. I didn't go to college because I wanted to. I went because of pressure. Maybe you guys did
that's
too.
What's still happening today.
Still happening today. You're in high school. Colleges come to the school and put up their posters and like recruiters and like it's a whole PR thing surrounding it. They pay a guidance counselor in all these schools. What does that guidance counselor do? He's paid or she is paid or whatever he the fuck identifies as. They're paid. They are paid to sit in a little room, and then when we're all juniors and seniors, like have a meeting with us and talk about what college we're going to go to. Right? That's so like what the fuck? There's someone who's paid to do that. That person isn't paid to be like, hey, what is your passion? What are your other skills? What do you? Because let me tell you something. It's very expensive to go to college. Maybe you might want to, maybe work for your father's plumbing company for a little while. Then, like you never get this, right? You never get this. You just get like what college you're going to go to, and if it's not a big college, what community college or what state college. It's all about college. And
maybe you should be a drug dealer.
No one ever suggests that. It's like, hey, no. I saw you growing some plants behind the building. You seem to have a knack for this. Maybe you ought to.
Maybe you want to grow some weed and sell it.
Hey man, I saw
or corn. I mean,
saw
whatever.
You knock
some
that
kind of farmer.
motherfucker out with one left hook in the playground. Why don't you think about maybe a career in boxing? Yeah, so it's always something that I'm like. I feel like people need to be made aware of it. It's like some invisible force that's creating this idea of behavior, and so that's what Free Your Effing Mind is all about. It's not for everybody, that's for sure. And it certainly isn't, it's not as funny as the other things I do. It's a little more serious. But I try to bring humor to it still anyways. I'll try and include some jokes in there. But a lot of times it's not. It's pretty serious.
Well, I mean, everybody wants to be entertained, right? But we don't always need to laugh, I think. And I think that's why when I found that podcast, I really stuck, especially to the episodes that I've listened to thus far. You made a mention of boxing. I know that you got to go here pretty soon. Scott has our questions ready to go.
Very excited.
For the end of the show.
Which you actually answered so many of them throughout the episode.
Oh, for real?
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, like you talked
really
about
did.
Mars. That was one of our
really?
questions.
Oh,
So
maybe you
that's
got others.
hilarious.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
okay. You got like a. Give me the B-sides.
The B. Yeah, so I'm turning the tape. Turning the tape over. If you weren't in acting, comedy, what kind of job? What would you think you would end up doing if you weren't doing that?
I would. I've always wanted to learn acupuncture and be an acupuncturist. Be involved in Chinese medicine. It's something that I've used in my life a lot, and I believe in it. And it's very to me. It's one of the. If you want to experience like real magic, we talk about magic, right? Dude, acupuncture, magic. Yeah, it's fucking magic.
All right.
Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's fucking magic. That you can put some needles, that a doctor can put needles in you and direct the energy flow to certain areas, change the temperatures, do all these things to you. Like, it's fucking magic, right?
Wow.
And anybody can experience it for $100. Go to get some acupuncture. Try it out. Yeah,
so it's worth it.
Yeah,
cool. Let's try
awesome.
That. Let's do a spa day, Mark.
Yeah, do a spa day. Okay.
Let's do it. What is one piece of information that you have learned that feels illegal to know?
Feels illegal to know.
So, like, is there a way to get out of a parking ticket? Like, take your shirt off, or I don't know if that's worked for you. That's just an example. That works for Mark.
So you're supposed to refuse a breathalyzer, right? You refuse the breathalyzer, I was told.
You can do that, and they might want to take. Then they'll take you down and draw blood.
But then, by the time the blood's drawn, maybe you've been dropped down. Maybe. So this is what I was told to do. Someone else told me to do something else recently about how to get out of some shit. I can't remember what it was, but it was similar to that. It was like, don't always refuse this when they do this. Do spoken always. I don't know what it was, but it was helpful. I wish I could remember it. Pass it on to your listeners. But I heard to refuse the breathalyzer.
So refuse the breathalyzer.
That's what they say to do, right? Refuse the breathalyzer?
No, yeah. I mean, you definitely want to buy time. Yeah. That's for sure. That's the name of the game.
That buys time.
Buying time.
Absolutely.
I mean, get your points possibly in a better situation.
Sitting in a cell as the time passes, but so what? I mean, look.
Heck yeah.
You know what? Someone might touch your bum. Whatever. It's worth it. You don't want to have that DUI on your record.
The experience pays for itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
My buddy told me a story once. I have a buddy Jimmy, who he couldn't control his bladder, and we made a trip up to Montreal.
When he was drunk, or just in general?
Just couldn't control it. He just couldn't hold the pee. So we made a road trip up to Montreal from Boston, and I was driving, and man, I had to keep pulling over, and finally I was just like, Jimmy, man, come on, what the fuck? And Jimmy says, all right, man, I wasn't going to tell you this, but there's a very serious reason why I can't hold my pee, and it has to do with prison. Like, all right, do tell. So he had to go to jail because of one of these instances where they had to hold you in a cell for whatever it was, drunk driving, whatever. So he was only going to be in there temporarily. But he said when they put you in this community cell, there was one toilet, and there was this big dude who didn't let anybody use the toilet. So Jimmy held his pee for like 36 hours. And because of that, he believes that he did permanent damage to his bladder, and now we all have to suffer when Jimmy's on a road trip because he just can't hold his pee. Because in jail, some big dude wouldn't let him pee, just kind of took over the toilet situation. I guess that can happen. I don't know why I told you that anecdote. I just thought it would be more entertaining than it was.
No, that is that. I mean, yeah. I just took from that, just don't go to jail.
You might have to fight to take a piss. Like, you might have to fight.
Yeah. Or I guess just pee your pants, I guess, worst case.
It could have been the thing. I felt like I should have said that, but Jimmy just pee. Well, you didn't just pee your pants. Why not just pee your pants?
Wow.
What's your other questions?
All right, our last one. What is your favorite or what conspiracy theory that you believe in?
Oh, a conspiracy theory
that you think, or that you think is one that that one's probably
sure.
I have a good feeling that one's legit, or could hold up. There's so many you can pick.
Well, you know, it's so unoriginal, but certainly the JFK thing is clear as day to me.
More than one shooter?
I don't know if there was more than one shooter, but I mean, obviously, a combination of our government and the mafia. I don't want to say, but like obviously, this guy was taken out by our people, same as MLK was taken out by our people. There's just like, this is the kind of stuff that can happen. Yeah. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. You know? Same thing would happen to Biden if he decided to forgive all the student loans. Bullet right to his head. Like, oh no, you're not gonna just write off that $1 trillion that we're owed. No fucking.
He'd be there the next day eating ice cream.
He'd be fucking blasted. He'd be shot immediately in his little convertible Mini Cooper or whatever he drives. I don't know what it is.
Probably would be a Mini Cooper. Yeah. I can see a Mini Cooper.
Because you can only fit like
one. And it's not even his car. He's just in a random Mini Cooper.
Because you can't fit more. You know, you need to fit more than one Secret Service person in there and a driver. You just can't fit that in a Mini Cooper. But several Mini Coopers like adjacent to each other. That could be like his little entourage.
Like an Italian job.
Yeah, he's in a Mini Cooper.
Job of
all the Secret Service are in a Mini Coopers around him. You wouldn't even know like which Mini Cooper is it. What do I do?
Nice.
Shit, boss.
It's a shell game.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. What conspiracy theories do you believe in?
Oh man,
there's a new one that we were recently told
let's hear
about. Antarctica. There is a portion of Antarctica that potentially could be a pedophile island.
Or it's like where all the like really wealthy people go, and it's not really, and it's not really like all ice and everything. It's literally like a place where we can't go.
That's good.
They tell us.
First of all, there's 50,000 islands that are in a more tropical zone that are also uninhabited that you could go to. Some of them have never been stepped on by human beings, but they're going to Antarctica. Like, you see, this is what I'm saying. This is like Occam's razor, man. Occam's razor. Like, what are people thinking? This is fucking ridiculous.
It's the door to the lizard's den as well.
It's probably the door to the yeah, sure. And it's the ice wall where the flat Earth theory is. It's like that's where the ice wall is too.
That's where it ends. It comes down.
It's a big ice wall that you go there and then it's like the Truman Show and you're just like, what is this? It doesn't go.
The dome. It's basically the dome.
Well, there are some facts that there are some billionaires that are taking their billion-dollar yachts and sitting on this green portion of the Antarctica. Like, the grass, it's sunny, it's cool, it's not Antarctica. And what are they doing there is the question.
Sure that's what it is? Like, you sure it's not like a science vessel? Like how do they know that this...
It was like 8 Lamborghinis on there. I don't know. Maybe. No, I don't know.
You see a bunch of people smoking cigars, talking about the stock market.
A bunch of bikinis and shit.
How do they know? If you have one of those, you don't have to go that far to get loneliness and solitude. You don't have to go that far at all. You just go halfway to Hawaii. You're alone. Like, I mean, the idea that people would go that far to have a pedophile party or whatever the fuck they're doing is just
Well, Epstein had an island.
Yeah,
and who knows how real or not real that could be, but he's not here anymore. So
that was definitely real. What do you mean? You don't think that's real?
Yeah, that's true. That was for real, right? That ship's for real.
Yeah, I think that one.
But you don't do it in Antarctica. First of all, it takes so long to get there, right? You don't do that. You want to.
But it's like
tunnels,
one of those.
The tunnels.
It's like one of those bougie things, though, right? Like it's the faux pas thing, like a Louis Vuitton bag. You know, to us would be like, oh, that's kind of gaudy. So a billionaire would be like, I went to Antarctica.
That's how you do it.
They go down there. They hunt penguins and eat them.
Because I can.
They go down there. They hunt penguins to eat them.
Jesus.
Bet you that's what it is.
They're fucking the penguins. That's what's going on.
Or that. Oh, poor penguins.
I like this. This is fun. I like outrageous conspiracy theories. They're just fun to laugh at and to toy with, to play around. I like it. It's very brave.
Yeah, no,
they never end. It's never end. It gets crazier and crazier. It's like
another one.
They're trying to outdo each other with the madness. I love it. People always send me conspiracy theories stories to like cover on my podcast, but I never do because I just don't want to spread that shit. Sure, it's weird, yeah, but I mean, if I'm not just out there trying to find
we're
weird
lowbrow
stuff.
enough.
I'd like it to be true. News that's also weird because there's some of that too. We don't have to bring aliens into the equation to get weird, man. You don't. You can find it all really happening in real life and all over the world. Like there's real weird shit. We don't have to invent all this stuff. Just listen to my podcast, Weird AF News, man. It's like there's so much weird shit. It's crazy.
So true.
Well, speaking of that, if you could just tell us where we can find you. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And yeah,
Mark, Scott, thank you for having me. It was great. People can find me on Instagram at Funny Jones, and then they can find the Weird AF News podcast or the Free Your Effin' Mind podcast on any podcast platform. Any of your podcast listeners, you could just do a search for that. Just to be forewarned, the Free Your Effin' Mind month I don't do very often. They come out when they come out. So you mentioned the one. It's from April, so that's like 3-4 months ago. So it's been a while. The Weird AF News is out 5 days a week. Boom! I don't really miss an episode. So that one's ongoing. So if you subscribe to the other one, you might have to wait a while to hear one. But if you subscribe to Weird AF News, you'll hear a new one tomorrow from Florida, and then on Monday again. Pick it up again. For sure, but thanks for having me, guys. I had a great time. This is great. I hope your listeners were entertained at least, and maybe learned a little something. Maybe they're angry. Maybe if you're angry, then I did my job.
Nice. Have the wheels turning.
Yeah, I like the wheels to turn. Sure. Like a hamster on a wheel in your brain.
Yep.
That's all of our listeners. They're
smart people.
And deep thought.
I'm sure they are.
Deep
thought. Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are.
Chasing cheese in a maze.
Yep.
Don't give up, guys. Don't give up.
All right. Amigos out.
Amigos out.
This has been the Amigos PC. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review us on all your podcasting platforms. And visit us at AmigosPC.net. Get our entire library of content and Amigos merch. Till next time, adios.